Acharya Pranam. This is the fourth satsang of the online course series on Kabir Sahib. And in the third satsang, in the previous satsang, you had uttered a stark statement saying that most of you cannot digest reality, and so I will give you spirituality. It shook many. For masters since ages, and you too in your teachings have taught that spirituality is the foundation and the pinnacle of all our quest and actions. Maybe it's we who haven't really understood the real meaning of spirituality in our life. There have been many statements by you saying, I am not spiritual, I am a destroyer of spirituality. I am the spirit. Another one says, enlightenment is the mother of all myths. It is the most fundamental myth. Then there is, forget enlightenment, be human first. So there's a question by Alok Bhute from USA. He's saying that I always felt spirituality is the ultimate reality, or spirituality is the only reality. Can you please elaborate on the difference in between spirituality and the reality that you mentioned?
Just before this session commenced, I was talking for about an hour to a young man from Hyderabad. And I said to him, the aim of spirituality is liberation or mukti. He retorted, saying, I do not want mukti. So I asked, why? He said, my mother follows a particular guru, and the guru has been asserting that mukti means the Atma will leave the body and then the Atma will go to Brahmalok, and there the Atma will get energized. And many such things. There is an entire play of many acts woven around the concept of mukti. So he said, I do not want mukti. It appears and sounds confusing, and scary. I said liberation is mukti from all confusion and scares. Liberation is liberation from all these bogus concepts of liberation. So, what is spirituality for most people? All these convenient, co-opted, domesticated concepts they will talk of everything in the world and in the other world and in 10 worlds next to this world and the other world. They will turn love, truth, liberation into tedious affairs. But if there is one thing they will stubbornly avoid looking at, it is life. The spiritual encyclopedia is very thick. It is like a very old palace. With dark rooms, narrow alleys, vast expanse, and many labyrinths as well. It offers you great opportunity to hide yourself. You can hide, you can avoid the light, and you can choose to remain lost in the maze, in the labyrinth for long. And even as you remain lost, you can not merely console yourself but actually proudly declare that you are in a spiritual pursuit. Even as you deliberately choose confusion and directionlessness, you can declare to the world and yourself that you are in the high temple of spirituality, elevating yourself to some great superconsciousness. When all that your consciousness is full of is confusion, worse than that of the common man on the street. For whom is spirituality? Please come to the basics. Spirituality is for the mind in conflict, the mind in confusion, for the one who is experiencing strife, disorder, dryness, loneliness within. For that entity is spirituality, right? Look at the word spirit. Spirit means the essence. So spirituality is obviously for the one who is lost in shape and form and name and size and appearance. And being lost there, he confesses that he is suffering. So he admits that being with the superficial has not helped him. When being with the superficial is admitted as unhelpful, then you say, I want to be with the essential. The essence. The spirit is another name for the essence, right? The very interiority of things is their essence. That is another name for spirit, the spirit of things. The ineffable, unseeable, untouchable. Center of things. Life of things. Spirituality is for the mind that is lost in superficial chaos. It doesn't like chaos, it doesn't like being lost, and it loses hope from things superficial. So it goes to the essential, that is spirituality. How does that mind, first of all, know that it is lost? It has to look at its actions. There is no other way of knowing the mind. Before you opt for a treatment, first of all, you have to be honest about your condition. Don't you see, you are the one who chooses to go to a hospital. Even in the hospital, you are the one who decides which department to go to. If you have a broken bone, You don't go to a cardiac specialist. Or do you? If you have rashes on the skin, you don't go to a dentist. Or do you? First of all, you have to be honest about your condition. How will you know your condition? You have to be honest about your daily experiences, and that is reality. You have to admit how you are living. To me, the spiritual quest of 99% of people stops at this beginning itself. If you will not admit what your condition is, there is no question of any doctor or any medicine succeeding with you. And man is an animal that deceives himself. You can very well keep lying to yourself about how you are feeling, what you do. You are the actor, and you won't even admit how you are acting. It is quite possible. For most people, spirituality is a dark refuge. It's a dark cave they go to because they want to avoid the daylight. And the funny part is, inside the cave, they pray for daylight. Inside the cave, there are all kinds of arrangements and methods. And books and gurus who promise you light. But light is exactly what the mind wants to avoid. In light, things show up. Once ugliness shows up. Spirituality becomes a good way to avoid looking at oneself. The mind anyway wants to not to look at itself and remain occupied with 1,000 miscellaneous things. And give the mind even more stuff to occupy itself with. So that it does not have to do that one thing that it needs the most to do. Look at itself. There are very few, to whom I can talk really straight. There are very few with whom I can be real. Most people have no stomach for reality. There are very few who are man enough to take it if I tell them bluntly on their face, listen son, you're just greedy and possessive. And that's your problem. Now solve it. Meeting over. You don't need a lengthy discussion with me. You're just greedy and you're possessive. Full stop. That's your condition. And once you know your condition, you should also know what to do with your condition. There are very few who will be able to bear, let alone benefit from, such a diagnosis, such a declaration. So instead, they have to be taken through the scriptural route. There would be an elaborate chapter on what greed is. Then there would be an elaborate chapter on why self-knowledge is necessary. And then there would be another chapter on the methods of self-knowledge. And then there would be another chapter on freedom from tendencies of the mind. And if I say chapters, it is still a mercy. There might be entire books on each of these 4 or 5 topics that I just mentioned. And the fellow loves to take this circuitous route. The fellow would love convolutions. He would want that at the end of a 5-year or 15-year long period of sadhana, he is brought to a point where he can combine these 4 or 5 things and then tell himself, look buddy, you know what? I just discovered something very, very mysterious, very esoteric. I've just laid my hands on something that is tremendously difficult to know. I have come to know what is greed. I have come to know that man must have self-knowledge. Man must know his mind. And I have come to know what are the right methods to know the mind. And I have come to know how to be free from stuff like greed and possessiveness. And using all these, I think I'll now graduate to the second step of my spiritual journey. Now I'll begin my sadhana. To be free from possessiveness and greed. Another 15 years. Another bookshelf. And that's what you exactly wanted, To delay the treatment so much that by the time you are even half healthy, you are close to dead. Like a 20-year man opting to have a treatment that lasts 80 years. The intention is clear. I should not be able to live health. Even if health is to come to me, it should come along with death. As long as I am alive, I just want to console myself that I am targeting health. But I choose to never to be really healthy. That is the mindset of most spiritual people. They want to forever remain in the journey called spirituality. And to forever remain in the journey, they must necessarily not look at their mind. They must necessarily remain blind to their own intentions. Knowing honestly, simply, just knowing without any method, just acknowledging by the dint of honesty what your mental condition is like is what I call as reality. You cannot deceive yourself if you have a taste for reality. You will know that you are just playing the fool. You will not be able to carry a serious face and display it to yourself and be convinced by your own tomfoolery. To be real is to say to oneself, come on, drop it. Drop it. Drop the pretense. To be real is to ask oneself, smiling to oneself, who is being fooled? Who is being deceived? Because we do not want to take the simple, obvious, innocent route. So we plunge ourselves in all kinds of deliberate confusions. In fact, we tell ourselves, if the spiritual methods I am following are complex, then surely they must be leading to something great. In fact, the greater the complexity, the higher the practice. The fellow will sit in front of me and ask me a question on infinite devotion and timelessness. And I'll tell him, I'll take your question a while later. There are other things that I need to respond to. He says, but my question is important, is it not? I'm asking, what is infinite devotion to truth? Because I feel that devotion within me. I want you to speak on it. What is infinite devotion to truth? And what is timelessness? And sir, I'm asking this to you because when I'm devoted to the truth, I feel I'm in a timeless state. So I'll say, I'll speak on it. Just wait. He says, no. Please do it quick. I have to reach home, you see. Sharp at 10 p.m. It's nearing time. I'll say, okay, fine. Just give me a while. And he'll bug me again. He wants to know about timelessness while being fully in the grip of time. He is constantly looking at the watch. And telling me, make it quick, sir. Give me timelessness, fast. He wants a spiritual answer. And he has no decency to look at his immediate reality. It is a kind of ugliness. It is very obscene. When beauty is revealed, how can it be obscene? Obscenity is when something ugly is exposed. And when such ugly minds expose themselves, that's the most vulgar thing. And I've still not taken up his question. So he again interjects, sir, please, I'll be off in the next 10 minutes. Kindly do speak on infinite devotion to the truth. He wants me to speak on infinite devotion to the truth, and he's not devoted enough to wait another hour. And then I say, you are in spirituality just to avoid reality. How are you so very disconnected from yourself? How exactly? Unfortunately, there can be no method to be honest. It's a given thing, it's a thing of the inside. It's a beauty that shines through the eyes when the eyes look at themselves. Sir, can you postpone today's session on Vairagya? Detachment, indifference. Why do you want me to postpone it? I would rather cancel it. No, no, sir, please. I beg you, don't cancel it, just postpone it. Why do you want it to be postponed? Because the session is infinitely precious. I don't want to miss it. Can you postpone that session? No, that's all right. I asked you, why do you want it to be postponed? If you really love the session so much, why not attend it today itself? No, sir, I really love that session. Then why do you want it postponed? Sir, today I have to attend to some property matters. Today he has to attend to property matters. Today he has to go to buy some more jewelry for his wife. And in the same breath he says, I want to be instructed in dispassion. I want to be instructed in detachment and indifference. I want Vairagya. Very, very puzzled, I would look at his face. I just keep hoping, I just keep praying that he would wink at me. That's my deepest wish. I want him to admit that he is just joking. I want him to wink. I want him to suddenly burst into a laughter and say, Sir, how was the joke? But he's not joking, he's serious. He is still standing in front of me with folded hands. He still wants me to postpone the session on dispassion. Because today he has to attend to his blood-red passions. Even as he commits himself to his bloody passions, he feels no shame in professing that he is a lover of dispassion. It has often happened. I have been forced to question myself. I have been forced to ask, do I understand this world at all? Do I know anything of this world? Do I really comprehend the people I talk to or want to help? I feel a stranger, a misfit. It totally beats me how people afford to be what they are. It totally beats me how people tolerate living with themselves. I just want them to punch me hard in my stomach and say, fooled you. I just want the entire crowd around me to laugh at me and say, and you thought we really were idiots? No, nobody can be so deeply an idiot. Obviously, we are not idiots. Obviously, we are not so dishonest. We were just playing a prank upon you. We were just pulling your leg, messing a little with you. I really want people to say that to me. But no, they aren't cracking jokes, they aren't playing pranks. They really are serious about their dishonesty. Or maybe they are not dishonest. Maybe I am just living in my utopia, because of which the world appears a dystopia. Sitting on this chair and talking this way and preaching is not at all something that I would have ever wanted to do. I would have rather wanted to just go to somebody who appeared a little confused and say directly to him, very precisely, very honestly, very matter-of-factly, dude, you're just afraid. Drop it. And I really wish that that much would have sufficed. I really wish there would have been no need for elaborate instructions and formal arrangements. But people do not want to take reality. They want discourses. You know, in some sense, I've started disliking myself. I've started disliking myself because I find myself helpless. I cannot talk straight. I'm not allowed to talk straight. I cannot call a spade a spade. I cannot call dishonesty as dishonesty. I cannot call foolishness as foolishness. I cannot call evil as evil. If I do that, the one I want to help decides to run away. So I have been forced to do that which I loathe doing. I have been forced to be diplomatic. I have been forced to contain myself. I have been forced to measure my words. I have been forced to soften my blows. And if I'll soften my blows, then I can't give you hard hugs either. Do you like soft hugs? I don't. When somebody hugs me, I want him to hug me so hard that the bones threaten to crash. Yes, that's it. If you can't take my blows, how will you take my hugs or my kisses? But people dislike blows more than they love kisses. We love to hear tales, stories, myths, because we want to while away time. We do not want to come to the point. So I have become a storyteller. I don't intend to be that. Spirituality, really, real spirituality is about freedom from stories. And my students and my audiences ask me to peddle more stories. Obviously, on my part, I remain very careful with the stories that I tell. I tell stories with the intention of liberating people from stories. I construct my stories very carefully. But even then, I cringe within. Why do I have to tell story when a statement would have sufficed? Why can't you just get it? Why are you not man enough to take the blow? Why do you always keep acting like a teeny weeny, pusillanimous, half dead? Residents of the chronic diseases ward, The world is kind of winning. The world is making me change my ways. How am I going to like myself for long? But well, there is something that says the teacher cannot have likes or preferences of his own. The teacher can have no definite personality of his own. The teacher cannot have a particular style of his own. The teacher must take the shape and form that is most useful to the student. The teacher's ways, methods, and words must be dictated by just one single criteria, and the criteria is usefulness to the student. So if this is the way you are going to be useful to the student, then so be it. If the student benefits from you when you become a storyteller, then so be it. Tell stories. It's not about what pleases you, it's about what benefits the student. Follow the dharma of the teacher. So, all right. I bow down to the teacher's dharma. But then who wants to be a teacher in the first place? Because to be a teacher is to admit that there are going to be a large number of people in front of you who will call themselves as students and would therefore not be teachers. To be a teacher is to say that you would always be sitting on a higher pedestal, which means that there would be a large number of people who will be condemned to sit on a lower pedestal. To be a teacher is to admit this decapitating duality. Let's see. Yes.
Acharya ji, you visited Banaras last month, and then this month you'll be, in the coming month, in January 2019, you'll be visiting Rishikesh. And both of these cities are known as to be the spiritual centers where people from abroad, from different countries, come here in India for various spiritual practices. And just now you mentioned about the reality that is, and the stories that are needed to be told to people so that they can relate with it as a student. And even there was a tour that was started by the foundation, Myth Demolition Tour, in Rishikesh, and it will be happening again in January. So what is the significance of that tour? Especially, why was it named the Myth Demolition Tour? Also, what is it that seekers who come from abroad to India, they miss out onto that reality that you talked of just now. And what is the way out?
When I went to Rishikesh for the first time, it was quite a spectacle. I'm talking of going to Rishikesh as a teacher, not as a tourist. As a teacher, I went to Rishikesh for the first time a few years back, and what I saw was these foreigners swarming to their image of Indian spirituality or Eastern spirituality, and the East dressing up to show the foreign nationals exactly what they wanted to see. It was entertaining, but after a point it was nerve-wrenching. I saw white people dressing up as demons, walking barefoot for long distances because somebody told them this is how Indians gain salvation. There was an entire industry of preachers there, many of them. And several of them are well entrenched there. Most of the preachers are also foreign nationals who have made Rishikesh their base now.
They travel to India for that.
Some probably travel, some probably are permanently settled. And the preachers are busy peddling exactly what the audiences want to hear. Mythical stuff, otherworldly stuff. Stuff that sounds big. Stories about things afar, so far that they have no relation with daily life. People hankering for an experience of the truth. People claiming that they are getting an experience of the truth. Women strutting on the narrow lanes of Tapovan, carrying a very well measured spiritual smile. The smile is supposed to indicate that they are experiencing some kind of bliss within. It's just that the holy land of Rishikesh has not merely Ganga and Gurus, but also Gai. So when cows and bulls would chase these beauties with resplendent smiles, the smiles would suddenly vanish. Miss Sunshine would be found running heads over heels, cursing the Indian chaos. The entire ambience was allergic, very allergic to just two words: honesty and surrender. Everything else was admissible, but these two words. Don't be honest about how you're living. Just don't be honest. How you are actually living moment to moment. Don't talk about that. Talk about everything else. Talk about Tantra. Talk about unconditional love. Talk about Yoga Nidra. Talk about Hatha Yoga. Talk about who am I. Just don't talk about one's relationship with oneself, one's relationship with the road, one's fears, insecurities, doubts. So there were two saints that were totally missing from the Rishikesh environment. One was Krishnamurti, because he was brutally telling people that no guru is going to really be of any help. Your own inner honesty is needed. So it would be very difficult for you to hear the word Krishnamurti in Rishikesh. And the second one who was missing was Kabir. Because Kabir talks of surrender. And an ego-driven mind that has come over precisely to fatten the ego hates to hear the word surrender. And when I say Kabir, I mean the entire family of saints who have sung of devotion and surrender. Devotion is another word you won't. And devotion and surrender are related. You won't hear these words there. So it became necessary for me to call my series of talks there as the Myth Demolition Tour. This is what spirituality really is. Know your nonsense and drop it. Knowing your nonsense is called self-knowledge. And dropping it is called surrender. And both these things were very missing. There was a lot of emphasis on doership. If you do this, this is what you will get. If you do this, this is what you will get. Try this method, try that method. Love for the beyond was just not being talked of. Even if love was being talked of, it was in carnal terms. Love the dog on the street. Learn how to make spiritual love with your handsome partner. So, that's the kind of love that was being peddled. It was necessary to have a myth demolition tour there.